Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to the after show for ABC's Blood and Oil Fight or Flight. Tonight, we have a full panel to break down the episode. A lot happened tonight, I think. Let's get into it. I'm your host, Grant Rutter. You guys can tweet me at Grants__rants. And here we are.
Hey guys, Lauren Salaun here. You guys can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun.
Hey everybody, it's Howard III. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Howard III. That's Howard 3RD.
Hey everybody, I'm April Whisenhant. Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
Nice. Okay. Well, Gary was full of mischief last week, and he's still here
guy.
This week. It started out with, of course, the hikers found him, and I waited all episode for him to open his eyes, so it wasn't a huge cliffhanger for me. That last scene when we all know, they're not gonna pull his body and just have him die now.
Yeah.
I know. Can't get rid of this guy.
Yeah, but we got a little bit of a break this week. It wasn't in everyone's face, usual.
I thought that it was funny that Wick to Billy is like, they're not gonna find him for weeks, and I'm like, you're on a trail. Like, this has joggers finding him in the woods written all over it. So I was surprised that he was still alive, though, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't think he'd still be alive after all that. Like, a whole, big stick in your heart, pretty
when
much.
You get impaled through the gut by a tree,
Exactly.
even just for 30 minutes,
I
don't think you're going to
Right.
survive that.
Yeah. I mean, think of all the blood loss.
Right?
Exactly.
Gary's a trooper, though, apparently.
He's a cockroach. Can't get rid of him.
Right, exactly. That's a better term for it.
So the FBI was introduced in this episode, and of course now they're looking for this geological report that was stolen, and they're convinced that Hap has it. And then we learn that this was a test that Hap set up, but it isn't really, because they really are looking into this. Am I getting all this right?
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was
I
a
didn't
test
think
that
it
he
was a
set up. I
test.
thought it was real, and the sheriff just told him that they talked to Wick.
Right, and Hap
okay.
kind of predicted that Wick, wasn't sure which way Wick would go because he's a little wishy-washy, but...
Okay, so Hap knows he's being...
Investigated.
Right, so I think
Okay,
Hap kind of
all right.
called that the FBI would talk to Wick first.
Okay.
He's like, so they went to Wick first, huh?
Right.
Just as I suspected.
There you go. Well, thank you for filling me in. I went over my head. Yes, when he received the business card, when Wick got the business card, I was like, don't take it, because, I was waiting for the scene when he would be, revealed that he would find it.
Right.
But, Hap is, a step ahead. So,
Right.
there we
As
go.
always.
I actually thought when they had that family meeting and Wick didn't say anything about the FBI talking to him, I thought that meant that he had decided to go along with it anyway, even though we saw him kind of tell him to stick it up their butts. I thought, maybe they didn't show us a little smidge of the conversation after that where he was like, actually, shoot, maybe I should, because he was keeping it a secret. I think if he shut them down, he'd be like, yeah, they confronted me today about it, but don't worry, Dad got your back.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of
But
still
they told,
trying to...
they told him not
Yeah, I
to,
get
though,
that.
because I think he realizes, okay, I've done a lot of stuff in the past few weeks that I'm guilty of, and because the FBI guy says, if, this has to stay between us, and if it doesn't, we'll dig up some cases that maybe haven't been solved. So I think he was just scared and was like, you know what, he doesn't need to know it anyway.
Right,
so
right.
Why
Put
say
that fire
anything?
out, we're good, sort of thing.
Right. Well, Wick and Jules had a scene which was good. I mean, Jules was really fired up in this episode, I thought. And she threw the bag at him. She revealed the mask. She's pissed. She knows, of course, everything that went down. And that's really the moment where they were over. And, what did you think of all that?
I thought it was something else. I was kind of like, Jules, why are you getting so mad when you have your own lie? Like, I didn't like that. I didn't like how she was just, no, through the bag and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wick's situation is a little, obviously, like, cheating on your boyfriend with his dad is pretty messed up. Right. But I think Wick's situation of, you know, almost killing his dad and doing that whole thing is a little bit worse.
Yeah. I guess.
But I thought that I loved Jules' performance throughout the whole episode. I thought she delivered really well on that.
It was one of her best.
But yeah, I liked how she kind of put her foot down. But I felt bad for Wick because, like we've been saying, you know, the whole time we've seen him kind of change the past couple weeks and grow deeper as a character. And I like that kind of conflicted direction he's been going in. So I've gotten a little sympathetic toward him. So I feel bad that she's like, he tells her he loves her, I think, for the first time. And then she breaks up with him.
Well, I mean, of course, you would be mad if someone tried to, maybe accidentally murder your lover. Sure. And I think she's just like, I think she was looking for something to end it with him anyway. Yeah. But this, you know, when you throw murder into the plot or potential murder, it kind of puts a little bit of a wrench in things, I guess. Exactly.
And not only that, but now Wick has yet another person that knows what happened. And then she's like, get out. And so he leaves, but he doesn't know if he even asks her, like, are you going to go to the police with this? Are you going to tell my father? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, and she doesn't know.
Yeah, and he just walked out. Like, can you imagine what must be going through your mind? Like, you don't know. Like, it's all hanging in the balance. Yeah. So it was all over his face when he went to that family meeting because when he went to Hap's office because he didn't know where he stood. Like, that has to be the worst feeling. But talk about a good performance. You know, he did it well, really good with that as well.
India, both of them did a great job.
Right. Well, Carla plants the seed that Wick should just go and just talk to his father and say, you know, he wants to do more. And she's like, oh yeah, he's at a lunch at the tack room. And of course, very good soapy plot to be able to set up this reveal. Right. I thought this was well executed. I thought it was good how everything was just put out there, and it was rewarding for me to finally see the truth come out. How about you guys?
Well, I liked Carla's little sneaky reverse look up, like looking up the phone records and who he called, finding that number. Please, it is not that easy to just like Google someone's phone number.
No. Well, I think I'm just glad that she like took initiative and didn't ignore it, because he says, "Oh yeah, honey, it's over," like, no, he's still like sneaking off randomly at night. Someone named Walt's calling. Like, Carla's not a dumb person. She's gonna get it. So I like that she didn't just attack him over it. She's like, okay, let me really think about what I can do to hurt you, which is kind of, you know, vindictive and bad, but I'm like, you go, girl.
Oh no, I loved it. Yeah, it's smart. It's super vindictive, but I loved it. She's playing the game. Like, she knows how to play Hap, and I'm sure she was probably the other woman in a previous situation with Hap, and so she knows what to look for.
You lose them how you get them.
I'm proud of Carla. I was like, you know what? It's about time. Like, I'm here for all of her little sneaky ways and everything she does, how she sits back and she'll just plant a little seed, and every little seed she plants, it just grows into something big, and I live for that.
And can we talk about how amazing she looked in this red dress all episode? She was like sewn into it, and it looked perfect on her.
It was.
Dang, Amber, you're looking good.
Like Hap.
So good.
Well, when Jules got together with Hap before the huge reveal, she didn't out Wick to his father with what she knew. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, or her loyalties are just all over the place, but, you know, I think storyline wise it's good that she kept it quiet because we can still see that, you know, play out. But,
well, I think she just kind of maybe started to like feel bad for him in a sense or something, because she has seen a different Wick than he's been his whole life. So maybe that's it. Maybe she just felt a little sympathetic for him, but I'm glad she didn't tell him either. For sure.
Keep that going a little longer.
But
not too long. Let's move on to the we'll talk about Kes and Ada really quickly. This storyline to me seems to kind of be like just dropped in, like it doesn't really touch upon everything else, and everything else kind of is like, you know, folding over and like intertwined. So, you know, I think maybe they kind of put the storyline out to pasture in this episode. What did you think?
I think so too. I was kind of surprised that it was just like okay, I found out you're gambling, and then I found out you're dealing coke. You should move home. Okay, we're moving home. I was like, oh, that's it?
That night, too. I'm like, okay, well, making it a little too convenient. Like, we're leaving tonight.
Yeah. They got them off the canvas real quick.
But I think that was the right move to make, because as we're watching it, we're saying, that just is kind of thrown in there, and it doesn't feel like it's a plot point that really, or a storyline that needs to be there. And I know we didn't like the Finn Ada affair situation either.
Oh whatever happened to that?
Exactly.
I forgot about that.
Nothing else, I guess.
Right.
I'm low-key glad that that they took all of that out, the Kes and Ada and Finn. Like, to me, it was just a big distraction. Sorry, excuse me, but
I feel like it made it so that Cody had more going on in her storyline, but it also seemed unnecessary. And I thought it was funny how they're like, oh, we needed to make a fresh start from Nigeria, so we moved to North Dakota.
Right. Because we just knew about this.
It's so random.
Well, I heard this show when it first started, it had 2 different writers' rooms. So maybe that's why this storyline kind of just doesn't really fit in. And most shows do not have 2 different writers' rooms. And perhaps that's why things started off kind of shaky in the beginning. Like, that first episode wasn't the best, but it has really improved.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people, including my grandmother. Hello, Granny. She watches.
Hey, Granny.
She watches. And, it's like, I think we agree that it's improved. So perhaps now they've put these people in the same room, and now they're kind of weeding things out and really kind of getting it straight. So it's definitely it's definitely going good.
And folks in the chat agree with us. The Kes and Ada thing was kind of we're ready to see it go by.
Right. Well, Cody was just at the right place at the right time. She was in that hospital, wasn't she?
She is just on it.
Why is she even there right now? What is she doing?
Well, she's like, thank you for all you've done for me. And I'm like, my mom's a nurse. I'm pretty sure she's never had anyone do that. Which, I mean, it's very nice. You do see people that, go back and whatever, but it's just like, oh, just so happens whenever the joggers discover Gary, here he is, and there's his room, too.
I think we've seen that several times now where things just are way too convenient with the certain characters that are beefing or need to run into each other just happen to be at the same place at the same time. Which I get, it's a TV show, so you have to do that, but sometimes I feel like it's been a little too convenient.
I think there are more organic ways to put people in the same orbit. We've seen it on a lot of other shows. So
I still don't understand why she was just lingering around the hospital.
She's got nothing else to do.
She's not back on work. What's going on? I know you're still scared, but come on. Why are you just lingering? We get it. He's the guy who hurt you.
Right.
You got some shopping to do.
That's true. She just stayed there.
She just stayed and just watched from the window. That's him. That's it. Okay, Cody, go home.
Go take a self-defense class. Use your time wisely.
That just bugged me for some reason. I'm like, why is she still lingering around this hospital? I just didn't get it.
True.
Yeah. Oh, well. And then Billy, of course, lies through his teeth. This marriage
headed for disaster.
I didn't get why. I mean, obviously he's gambled on it, not literally, but he's taken a lot of risks with their money and jumped into a lot of business opportunities that have fallen flat so far. And so maybe he's hesitant to tell her about this one that he's going in on. But I feel like they've been so on the same page with sharing stuff with each other that this episode they both hold secrets from one another. He doesn't say anything about going to Houston,
a different
flying to a different state for this meeting, and then she keeps it from him about seeing Gary at the hospital while on the phone. She of course tells him later, but it just seemed I didn't get the reasoning for them doing that. I feel like they're setting us up for Emma to kind of be a little wedge in between them, which we already saw hints of. So I feel like creating some distance between them like that, keeping secrets, is just kind of setting us up for bigger secrets.
I think she didn't say anything to him because she was kind of annoyed that he wasn't like there to be able to talk to her right now. He's had bad cell reception for the day,
right?
In the private jet,
right? But I just don't I really don't understand why he didn't tell her. There's a part of me that gets it in the sense of like, okay, because of the risk, because of what she's been through, does he want to say, I'm not going because I might be doing this? And I get he maybe doesn't want to kind of scare her in that way. But it's also like, I mean, God forbid, what if something had happened on the plane? She doesn't even know that you're in a private jet with a woman. Like, that's the kind of thing where you're like, you don't have to tell her what it's about, but lie and say, Hap sending me on this last minute crazy trip to Houston. I'll be back later tonight. Yeah. Like, maybe I just was just kind of confused why he didn't.
And even why she didn't tell him, because I get if you're annoyed with your husband for not being there and that sort of thing, you might like, fine, well, I'm not going to talk to you about certain things. But when it's like, the man who beat the crap out of me and made me miscarry our baby is in the hospital, you say that.
Not like, go have a good work day. I don't want you out.
Fine. You know?
Yeah, they have a weird relationship. I'm not married, but their marriage just doesn't reflect any type of relationship that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I think they're cute sometimes, but they've just been so like, they don't communicate very well. No. And he's always like, oh, well, I'm going to do this thing. I spent all our money on this. And she's like, well, I'm going to do this.
I bought us
a house. Yeah. It's stressful.
There's a lot going on in their marriage.
It's just too much. Yeah. Way too much.
Well, let's take a moment and do our cheers and cheers of this episode. The highs and lows.
Oh, no.
Little things that caught our attention along the way that, we just stood out to us. I'll go first. My cheers are just to the overall. Yes, they like it.
This live studio audience is amazing.
I love them. The lifestyle was really put on display in this episode of oil money, the gala event being outside. I've never heard of a gala being like in the daytime, but it looked great. I mean, it was really well done, and I love the actress who plays Annie Briggs. So that was good. Yes. And my jeers go to something minor, but it caught my attention. My jeers go to the graphics they used on the computer.
Yes.
When they had to look up the telephone number. It's like, who did this?
I was like, is this computer from 1995? What is she using?
And you can tell, and a lot of times they do this on TV, there's like a program. So they're like, the actress Amber isn't exactly using a mouse. It's like a graphic. So it's designed to show the cursor move up, and everything was just like over enlarged. It didn't look like any type of computer I've ever used.
Right.
So that is my jeers. Those graphics. Come on.
Because when they do those sorts of things, they can't usually use real programs. So they have to create a whole generic, it's basically like a movie they put on the screen, like you said, that plays it. But it looks so old school.
I mean, I've seen better. That's what I'm saying. I get it, but I've seen better.
Yeah, definitely not a Mac.
Yeah.
All right, am I up?
Yeah.
Okay. My cheers go to Billy's comment to Emma about what they're wearing. He said, oh, you look like a $1 billion heiress or the Bachelorette.
Lauren, that's my cheer.
I liked it just because it was a Bachelorette reference, and I like the show The Bachelorette, which is slightly embarrassing, but it's true. They wear those very fancy, ridiculous dresses.
Yeah.
See, I thought that dress was almost too much.
I thought she
Bachelorette.
Yeah. Well, not for the Bachelorette. I thought she was a little overdressed compared to what all the other women were wearing.
She was wearing like a cocktail dress.
With all the rhinestones.
She was. Yeah. Annie was a totally different formal bracket. Yeah.
I liked the line, but I did think that Emma was a little overdressed for the situation. My jeers, which I already mentioned, goes to the convenience of Cody just being there at the hospital.
Yes.
Right. So I was like, wait. Why is she even there? It took me out of the zone watching it because I was thrown off by what she was even doing there.
Yeah, and the floral display she brought really wasn't much of anything either. I'm kind of
very true.
This is what you came here for? Anything else to do?
Okay, all right. Well, my cheers go to Chris and his wife or whatever moving back to Nigeria. I really like that they moved back. It was I just couldn't get with that storyline. I was just like, you know what, I'm glad you're moving back. And the whole selling of the drugs, we knew that wasn't really what he wanted to do.
Right.
And I was just happy, like, they're going back and she was going to be with her family.
Mm-hmm.
So, hooray to them. And then my gears go to, I don't know if the cop is good or bad. I still don't know because he was just
Sheriff?
the sheriff, sorry, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
The sheriff, I still don't know because when they were out there in the little land, whatever, he was like, oh, you'll be the first one to call if I hear from the FBI. But he still wants to kind of pull Wick in and get him arrested. So... I don't know. I'm still a little bit confused on that one.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So I kind of already mentioned my cheer too. My cheer goes to Carla for sticking it to Hap because she is about to set so many wheels in motion by her not directly telling Wick.
Yes.
But just he's gonna be there. You do this. You know, she thought of it. She did it in a good way. So I'm like, a woman scorned, there is nothing worse than. And then my cheer, I'm trying to think of another one in my mind.
It could be your cheer. We don't have to agree.
My cheer was that he was like, you're either a billionaire heiress or the Bachelorette. I'm like, I just thought it was kind of cheesy.
It was cheesy.
I do love the Bachelorette
reference.
I just thought it was like, I can imagine a writer's room where like the writers are like, or the Bachelorette, ha 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 ha.
Oh, and I
thought it was a
didn't
little cheesy.
I didn't even think about how it's same network. So ABC does
Oh,
The Bachelorette and this is
I
Bachelorette.
didn't
So they're
either.
just plugging their own stuff.
Well, they did make that Fast and the Furious 8 reference with the
That was
racing of the
funny.
trucks.
Right.
Yeah, but that's NBC Universal. So who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But odd nonetheless. We do know that ABC loves to cross promote their
Yes, they
stuff.
do.
That they
Yes, so no surprise there. Anyway, let's talk about Billy and how he learned in this episode that his new backer is going to be Annie, and that there's the Carmichael land. This is really what I want to talk about. Just that the Carmichael land, it's next to the McCutcheon property, and they're looking for a backer. This is all correct, right?
Because he died. Mr. Carmichael died. So now their Hap has like driven up the price, or he bought it, or it's at auction still, and then they need someone to buy it so that Hap doesn't get it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And after flying Emma and Billy there, she's like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
She's
What
like,
was the
thanks
point
for
of that?
delivering bad news in person, which I can respect, but, you know.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Billy totally calls her on. It's like, you wouldn't have flown us all the way out here, paid for these outfits and stuff, and had us do this if you're just going to turn us down, and already decided that. And so he's like, I think you're still in love with him, and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I think, called her bluff a little bit. And she calls him back.
a good
and is
scene.
like, let's do it.
Yeah.
I did not expect her to call him back and say, let's do it. And there was a part of me that did, but then whenever she said to him at the end of their conversation, she was like, you should have just enjoyed the party. I'm like, she is about to go ham on Billy.
Yeah.
He's going to have everyone after him. Because I thought he did come off a little too aggressive. Like, I know he is, going after what he wants and he needs her, but I was like, you need her, so don't piss her off too much.
Yeah.
So I was actually kind of surprised that she turned around and went back with them.
See, on
I
the
saw
flip
it
side,
coming.
I saw it coming. That's just me, though. I just saw, like, okay.
I feel like this show has been a little predictable in certain sense. So with that, I'm like, duh, they're going to tease it, and he's going to, like, make some bold statement or something, and
Right.
she'll come back around.
I was waiting for her to be like, I was so impressed with the fact that you stood up to me. Not many people do that. And for that, I respect you. I was waiting
Or
for
say
that.
something
but-
like, I was just testing you to see how ballsy you are.
To see how much you would
I was
fight.
waiting, But instead, it's really revenge related, I guess, towards just
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
after Hap.
I told y'all, woman scorned.
Yeah.
See? She's like, you took my money, I'm about to take yours.
I ain't mad at her either.
So, Wick ended up turning on his father ultimately and going to the FBI, and we'll see how that plays out. What else happened? AJ had a scene where he kind of like flipped out on Lacey, and he kind of was like Carla was in the original early episodes, like kind of pushing Wick, like, hey, we should be checking this guy out, we should be considering him. So Wick just can't catch a break.
Well, no. I mean, and he shouldn't.
No.
Obviously, because he did it.
I thought the scene where he discovered Hap and Jules, together, I was like, is he gonna walk all the way up there? And I'm like, you didn't lock your door, which he had a key though.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and here's
I
the
didn't
thing,
realize that.
girl.
Yeah.
Jules, if you're cheating on your boyfriend with his dad, and your boyfriend has a key to your apartment, maybe don't hook up with him like in in broad daylight, like
Right.
in your place.
In your glass office where like people can see you both in there, and then you he
rush
doesn't
away.
come back down for a couple of hours. Like, that's a little
I'm
weird.
like, cover your tracks a little bit better, lady.
Yeah.
Well, I always
He's
think
so good.
I always think like logistically. I'm like, where does Hap park his car or his truck, or
Yeah.
if he has a driver?
yeah.
Like,
Did he Uber?
yeah,
Exactly.
Uber.
Maybe.
He's
That's a
not,
good
like-
way to cover your tracks.
He's not like a discreet. Well, that's not the right word. People know who he is. So
Right.
him
Yeah.
going into the tack room and then like going
Yeah.
upstairs, people are gonna see that and
Yeah.
notice that and remember it.
Isn't he like everyone's boss? That's what we're kind of led to
Pretty
believe.
much,
That
yeah.
he's the biggest guy in town. There's no competition. They're all there for oil, and
Yeah.
there he is.
Yeah.
No one else looking up there and seeing them like chatting and touching. Blah,
It's
blah,
a
and
little
rushing
easy.
off.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
Way
Little.
too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he confronted her about it because I didn't think he was going to at first.
Yeah. I like that
He
too.
was pissed.
Oh yeah.
that was a
Now
good scene.
we're seeing Wick turn on the revenge path.
Right.
I'm like, you tried to kill your dad. Isn't that enough? Like, maybe just give him
Maybe
this
let's call it even now.
Yeah.
Like, hey
that.
dad, that was me that tried to shoot you. I forgive you for screwing my girlfriend.
We're even.
We're done, right? Cool.
See you at Christmas.
Yeah. Well, Cody suspects, and she did throughout the episode, that Billy had something to do with that, of course. Wick doesn't make things any better by coming over. Of course, Billy, in the middle of the house, is like, yo, come over.
Right.
It's like, not even like, just send a text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
They
it's
don't
like-
text on this show.
No, weird. So they had their second conversation of the episode outside, and that's when Wick was like, "Yeah, you should probably think twice about joining, Hap, because I just basically came from the FBI." He didn't say that, of course, in the show, but like, yeah, good. I mean, like, kind of glad that he didn't let Billy fall into that trap.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was nice.
But if he's
Yes.
trying to keep himself under wraps, then that was not a smart move on his part.
True,
Because like you just
right.
told Billy, if Billy's going to say to Hap later, like, "Oh, this happened." Well, I guess he wouldn't now since he's going to be partnering with Annie. But it would have been a thing. I thought he was going to say like the reason why is because I hear some bad things are happening for you, which he did say that. But I would assume that Hap would be like, "What are you talking about?" So just Wick hasn't been very smart in covering his tracks in a lot of things. So I don't know why I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, Wick doesn't really think things through very well.
Well, let's talk about Wick and the scene where he called Jules out for exactly who she is.
Yeah.
And that was another powerful scene. These two are good performers.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I think that that was one of my favorite parts of the episode. But I hated how she was like, "Wick, you're crazy right now," or whatever she said. I'm like, honey, like, just admit it.
Yeah.
He's confronting you about something you think he had no idea about. Like, just don't try and work yourself around it. But
Right.
he's like, "I saw you right
Yeah.
there
And
where you're standing."
I mean, and we see Wick being a little sharper than we sometimes give him credit for. And he's like, do you know how many there have been? Because
Yeah.
exactly, like, I'm sorry, but he's been married, 3 times now, Hap has, and obviously, like, I'm sure there's been plenty of side ladies.
He's like,
It's
"You know
oh,
the
we got
redheaded
you."
waitress on Route 59? He's been seeing her for years."
Yeah.
I'm like, there
He's
are
like-
others?
And he let me guess, he probably bought you a necklace
love
or
that.
earrings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're like, ooh, burns.
She didn't get earrings. She got a sea flower.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the necklace.
And the necklace.
Oh, yes. They get
That
the necklace.
stopper and the necklace.
But only the real girls get earrings.
Yeah,
of that.
that was good. And then he
Sting.
turned the tables on her again and said, "Well, guess what? You just got played.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's only screwing you to get to me." So,
Yeah.
that, of course, that left her like dumbstruck. But that was good dialogue in that scene. I will say. Yes.
I'm really happy about that scene. It was just so powerful, and it was like something we needed to see. Like, finally, I needed to see this scene because it to me took the actors on another level. Like,
Yeah.
they just been kind of like bland a little bit to me, but with that, it really showed their chops, and I was really like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, heavily. I'm already interested, like, in the whole episode and all the episodes.
Right.
But this one was like, oh, I have to keep watching. I have
Right.
to keep seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So great.
That's
Kudos
good
to you
because
guys.
they needed it. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all think, though, that I don't think he's just with Jules to get back at Wick. I think he really does have
I don't
feelings for
think.
her.
Right.
Yeah, because
I
they
think so,
started
yeah.
up before Wick
Right.
was even a
Yeah.
thing. They were even
But
in
it
a
plants
relationship.
doubt. I mean, it plants some doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there are a lot of other women right now. I think that maybe in the past with Carla or whoever else he was married to, there probably were. But it doesn't seem like there is with Jules. It seems like that's like the real thing for Hap. I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree.
He is a very manipulative and charming political
I know, I'm kind of like,
man.
I would go on a date with him.
I know. Hey, Don Johnson.
Maybe I would just go on a date with Don Johnson. I don't know.
Well, speaking of manipulation, Billy goes in there and says to Hap, look, I'm not going to take the job. But then, of course, Annie struts in and the truth is revealed in a very, like, soapy, like, dramatic,
I loved
like,
it. I
scene
loved
where it's
it.
like,
Annie? Yeah.
She's like, come here.
Hello.
I know.
I like when she leaned in and gave him a kiss. She's
Yeah.
almost like, I'm here, bitch.
I know. I love it.
I like that he was smiling the whole time. Like,
Yes.
even when they walked out, he's like, at least it's not going to be boring, or whatever he said. I
Oh,
forget.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, something
But-
like that, yeah.
I like that he's like, all right, this spicy little mom. And there was some sexual chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe, I don't know, old flames die hard.
I guess, yeah.
No, I love that scene. I mean, I love that actress. She's incredible. Lolita Davidovich. Exactly.
She was great.
But she's so great, and she's so like saucy. all the
I
time,
need to
so.
see a scene with her and Amber Valletta. And Carla,
yeah.
Carla and Annie need a scene somewhere
Yeah.
along the line.
I feel like Annie would take her down just because, like, character-wise, their personality. Because Annie has such that, like, she's like, I don't care. Like, who are you? Oh, I hear she used to be a model. Like, what?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think she would dominate.
Oh,
in
yeah,
that little
she's got a
cat
lot
fight.
more
Yeah.
experience under her belt.
Yeah.
Been there, done it,
With
you know?
Wick in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a really good scene. I hope they make that happen.
I hope
Me
so,
too.
too.
I can see Carla like pulling out something like business wise, like, oh, well, did you know I did this for him in this quarter, and you couldn't do this for him in that quarter? Like,
Right.
I could just see it.
She's like, well,
It'd be
do
great.
you know I did this to his body? And she's like, "Whoa, we've never done that before."
I like it.
Well, and speaking of that,
Oh, sorry, Granny.
Oh, please. Don't worry.
But as we're watching, which we've seen in other episodes with Hap and Carla together, they're so cold and so formal with
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
another. I want to see them like relax. Like, I get that it's the merger relationship or whatever,
Right.
but it's always so like, yes, Hap. Thank you, dear. Okay, this is now robot
Like,
kiss.
step
Yeah,
for
she's a little robot.
Yes.
Yes, in the romantic department, yes.
Yeah.
I want to know what people are saying in our chat. Let us know.
Someone, Jessica just said Hap orgy time.
Oh,
So yeah,
thank you.
He's got 3 chicks on there.
we've got
There you go.
people
Go
who want to
ahead.
see Emma and Billy have a thing. I think they called it Bema. was the name.
What did you think of the kiss on the cheek? Should she just have gone for the real kiss? Like, does it count? Does it count?
Who, Emma?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it counts yet, but I think she was kind of surprised that she was like, oh, not that she was surprised that she kissed him, but that there was just like a little bit of a spark. But I think the reason why viewers, and even kind of myself, I still like him and Cody, of course, because they're married, but I think that they have as actors, maybe, not to say that he and the actress don't, but I think maybe him and Emma have a little more chemistry at this moment.
Yeah.
But it could also just be because they're doing like a saucy
They're like
thing together.
yeah, and they're on the
so-
same page with this business stuff more, so we see them like jiving better in
Right.
that sense too. I don't know. I feel like you can like do a little harmless kiss on the cheek, but she was definitely doing it to be like, I have a little crush on you, and this is an appropriate
Yeah.
way of showing
Like,
you
you
that
can-
kind of.
I'm gonna cheat. You can't like.
Yeah, she's really slow and like, you know.
Yeah, all right. We're breaking it down
hide
here.
his face.
Yeah.
You can't. That's not.
Bye.
That's not
It was
an
a
innocent kiss.
Great trip.
That was definitely
Love
a
you.
I'll call you later type of kiss.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we got your number, Emma. We know what you're doing.
Yeah, girl.
It's a married man. And then really quickly, let's just talk about the two, Billy and Hap, squaring off in that last moment with him, like, talking about, like, David and Goliath is a fairy tale, and I'm gonna, like, rip you to the ground, and just Billy is just like, I mean, he's like the little man that can, though.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still there.
I like that he didn't let it psych him out. Like, I like that he
Yeah.
laughed. He's like, we'll see.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I loved Don Johnson's performance in that last scene, just with his like attitude toward the whole thing, with Annie coming into the picture, and his speech to Billy about David and Goliath, all that. Just I loved it. It was so like, silly little boy, like just you try. But I also love that Billy stood his own and you know, didn't get like immature or ridiculous with it or like snarky or anything, but you know, held his
fairy tale.
Held his own with Hap and so that was a fun scene to end on for
fun
sure.
tonight.
I kind of wish Billy would have said a little bit more though towards the end when he said, you know, like, oh yeah, I will be the one to win. I kind of wish Billy would have said like just something like whatever or something like a last little note, a little like, dig in there before he left.
I'd be like, don't believe me, just watch. All right, what's going on in the chat? Anything that we want to?
People are shipping Billy and Emma for sure. They definitely think the kiss on the cheek was a little test in the chemistry, like in Hap and Annie dynamic. What wickedness shall ensue? Yeah, lots of talk about these new relationship possibilities.
Well, it's interesting that no one's talking about Lacey and AJ. That's another kind of periphery pairing that just hasn't done it for me.
No, she's so immature, and he called her on that tonight too. He's like, you know what? Next time you have something snarky to say, save it for your Twitter feed. And then,
that was the other line that I didn't like.
Yeah, that was a little too silly to me. And then he kind of like stormed out like a little too. He overreacted a little bit, I think, but then she's like, "Oh, that was kind of hot," and I don't like that. Like,
it just seems random.
That's like the millennial storyline. That's what they think that we say. You know what I mean?
Right. But the weird thing about it is, Lacey's like, you know, has like a master's or something, or she's in law school, right? I believe, and so she's a well-educated, mature woman. She's not like a little 20-something kid. And I mean, I don't know, she may be in her 20s, but she's not like an immature girl. Right. You know, she's like a smart woman, and we see her acting so like just silly all the time, I feel like.
I think it's good that you said that about they're writing it for like the millennials, because I really do think that they probably wrote that thinking that like, oh, this is what people do, like this is what they'll want to hear these characters say. And as much as you know, obviously this is on YouTube, we're all very active on social media, it's still that's never something that I would say in an actual conversation with anyone. Like, save it for your Twitter feed. Like,
it's just trying too hard. It's just trying a little too hard.
So I think they're like, let's relate. Let's throw in the Bachelorette comment. Let's throw in the Twitter and whatever, which a lot of shows talk about Instagram and everything. But I just thought it was a little, you know.
Like, you don't say that you'd like make a jab at someone like that in a joking way.
Right.
I think you'd be like, oh, maybe tweet that next time. I don't need to hear it, sort of thing. Like as a little dig, but
not like
not in a real fight. Like just tweet that instead of saying it to me, and then storming out.
And for me, it just doesn't fit the tone of the show. We haven't had those. Like they don't talk like that.
Yeah. Right. We haven't had like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It's like if anything, it's like about rich people and people who are older in relationships. So to me, it just was like whatever.
Did you see Carla's computer? She doesn't have Twitter on that thing.
That girl needs to update. She needs to get a Microsoft update. All right, let's look forward and predict it. What's coming up on the next episode?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So the show returns November 29th on ABC. So you have 3 weeks before the next one, before we'll be back here breaking it all down for you. So, we looked at a promo. What's coming up? What's up?
There's so much going on in that promo. I know. I mean, we could say a lot of things about what's happening in the promo, but my initial prediction, I think there's going to be something, I think something's going to go on between Hap and Annie. I think there's going to be a little kiss or something.
That was actually my prediction for the show, too, because it's just the way that they're like,
there's so much like
there's just a lot of sexual chemistry there that I think something is gonna go down. I think that Carla is gonna be the successor in all of this. I think she's gonna come down on Hap harder than anyone can, though. I think that's how it'll end up anyway.
Yeah.
I know. I predict that. Okay, oops, sorry, just lost my train of thought, but I'm back now. I predict that Hap is going to stay in jail for a little bit. I mean, we did see the FBI come to the party, break it up. I also predict that Carla is getting ready to step in Hap's place. She will be the one to head up the company, and I think we're going to finally see that chemistry or that little interaction with Carla and Annie Briggs. You know, that's where it's going to happen because Carla is getting ready to get the company.
Right.
And then I also predict that Billy and Wick will come like even more closer because Gary is alive for some reason. He's gonna pop up in here. Why? We don't know, but he'll be here. So when he pops up, Billy and Wick will come even stronger.
BFFs.
Right. Oh man, it's hard for me to predict. I really don't know. I want to know. We saw in the promo that Carla was slapping someone, and I want to know why. We think it's the oil commissioner.
I think it was the oil commissioner.
Yeah.
I don't.
So I love a good slap. So I want to know that. But yeah, there's a lot coming up.
And we also see her like with a shotgun at one point too. It's going to be intense.
Yeah.
And who knows though, because that's likely not all from one episode. So that's probably a few of our remaining episodes mashed into one.
It could be, yes. Now, looking at Carla and generally, to your point about her perhaps taking over with Hap going away, like I'm curious to see how lines will be redrawn should Hap go away and how Billy plays into that. Because, this show doesn't have, we're on 7 out of 10 episodes. So, things have to kind of start rounding out a little bit. So I'm curious to see, how that's all going to play out. I know the writers have to do some rewrites, so perhaps that's why, we have the time.
Yeah, I don't think she'd end up taking the whole company because at this point, like in the show, she is not a character that we like enough to want to see her win that big, if that makes sense. We're not rooting for her to like get the whole company. I think we're rooting for her to get back at Hap in some way for cheating on her, and we want to see her do something sneaky and manipulative in the background and be like, my plan has come together, sort of thing. But I don't. At this point, I would be like, oh, she ended up with the company? Nah, I think even if Hap doesn't end up with still having a stake in it in some way, I don't think Carla should get it all.
Yeah. I cannot predict how this is going to all end. It seems like there's a lot more coming. So. Well, you guys can keep up with us on social media. Where can we find you all?
Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
Yay, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Howard III. That's Howard III. And my website, of course, howardthird.com.
And you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube at Lauren Salaun. That's LAUREN SALAUN.
And you guys can find me over on Twitter at Grants__Rants and on my podcast, Grants Rants Hollywood Talk. For Blood and Oil, that'll do it for us at AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.